So as Bruce said and Rachel said, I work for the United Steelworkers. We're an international union with members on both sides of the border, and I've worked as an organizer in various parts of the union for about 130 years. And so I'm here to reflect a little bit on the use of technological tools as assisting in our fight for economic justice in our organizing goals. And I'll be quite limited in the kind of union organizing I'm going to speak about. I also note that my friend and colleague Bob Linton is here from the FCW, so anything I don't cover, you should ask Bob and put him on the stand. What I want to talk a little bit about today is really the use of technological tools in union organizing, and by that I mean helping build unions from a non-union situation with a group of employees into having a trade union and a certified union, and hopefully a first collective agreement. So not the use of technology and other union organizing efforts that would be political advocacy or campaigns in support of collective bargaining or so on, because I think there's a real difference in how we use these technologies. Again, the basic process of union organizing, for those who haven't gone through it, anybody here actually have been through an organizing campaign, so start to finish? Okay, so yeah, Bob put up both hands and both feet. So the basic process is actually fairly simple, leaving aside the contested terrain on which it happens. Employees gather, there's an initial contact with the union, employees gather together, we try to build an inside, or what we call an inside committee, a representative group of employees in the proposed bargaining unit. We attempt to build to majority support for the union. That's usually in the form of evidence of union membership cards. And in Ontario, in the main, those membership cards then are used to spark a vote, a secret ballot vote that the Ministry of Labour, that the Labour Board conducts. There are some changes about our legislation in Ontario. I want to reflect on those later. That's basically the process. So it sounds simple enough, but in fact it is the vast majority of campaigns that we start, we don't finish. And I think that's probably the same in the rest of the labour movement. And the ones that we do finish, we don't always win. We finish with a loss or a win. And I was meant to bring some of the Ontario Labour Board statistics around showing that unions, I think, win about 60-65% of the campaigns that we take to a vote. A little bit about steelworker organizing. Across Canada, we organize about 3,700, 3,600 members per year join our union in raw organizing campaigns, ground-up campaigns from the start. If we add to that the members that come into the union through mergers, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, that probably goes up to about 4,800 members a year. That's over the last dozen years. We usually account in Canada for about half of the union's overall growth, or more than half, up to 2/3 in some years, of the union's overall growth in North America, because of the very challenging organizing state that exists in the United States. And the strongest growth province for us, or region, is the province of Quebec, for a whole bunch of reasons, including law and social culture in Quebec. Currently, our union is ranged into 3 different districts in Canada: Western Canada, Ontario, and the Atlantics, forming a second district, and Quebec forming a district on its own. Each of these districts has a separate organizing program, and we try to knit together some support for that and some separate campaigns run at a national level where I work. Currently, we're running organizing campaigns in the following areas: in mining, in telecom, in hotels, in logistics. Anybody here a purchaser of goods from Mountain Equipment Co-op? So yeah, so the employees there at their warehouse, not at their retail operation, just joined the union late last year, so go buy more things, please. Manufacturing, wide range of manufacturing, taxi drivers, healthcare workers, and security guards. I'll get in and say a quick anecdote. Back when I started organizing for the union in the late 1980s, early 1990s, some of our staff from our union organizing folks in the States had a really great technological solution that was going to revolutionize union organizing. It was going to be this high-tech thing that was going to change how we deal with inside committees. It was really going to kick organizing into hyperspace. And it was this incredible machine. And it was a small screen about this big with a little VHS machine built into it. It was a portable video machine. I think it came out right around, we probably jumped in right when Beta and VHS were figured, and this was going to revolutionize how we dealt with inside committees. It was going to be, we're going to be able to show them these videos, and they're going to be able to see visually about the union, and nobody ever used these things. It was a complete disaster. Secondly, my other quick anecdote is about, perhaps about a decade ago, maybe a little bit less, I was meeting with some folks, and Brendan knows some of these folks from our wood council, our forestry folks, a leader from there was saying, we need to really get into using new technology. We need to use this program called MyFace. We really have to use this thing. And the fact that he could remember MySpace and blend it with Facebook, I thought was pretty amazing. Our goal in organizing campaigns is to try to take some of these tools, social media tools, technological tools, and blend them with the traditions of organizing, which is really person-to-person, face-to-face. And so when I speak about organizing, it's not our political campaigns, not our advocacy campaigns, but the basic union organizing efforts. And so I think it's a bit different because the people with whom we are communicating have a justifiable and reasonable fear of capital punishment in the employment relations sense, of losing their jobs if they engage in communication with the union. That's different than our political campaigns, it's different than our bargaining campaigns, it's different than all the other campaigning that unions do. So when unions speak about union organizing and use of technology, workers who engage in it take a risk by engaging in whatever technological platform you've got going, in addition to getting in trouble for meeting you at the Tim Hortons, just to think about a company for a second. And the communication playing field in union organizing is fundamentally tilted toward the employer, right? Whereas in political campaigns and bargaining campaigns, there's much more of a common playing field, I think. So different tools fit different phases, and I'll just mention a few of them. List building, building lists of employees, and then either using those as active campaigns or past campaigns, and then analyzing that data for future trends is something that we're getting better at. But for example, in looking to be able to contact employees at home, being able to it is incredibly difficult to be able to build a list of employees' home addresses to be able to contact them. There are privacy concerns, and just the amount of data you have to sift through. A recent example is we using publicly available data sources of published home addresses. We had a list of about 300 people. We were able to come up with 11 good home addresses to be able to contact people at. The use of electronic membership cards. I think you can donate your kidney electronically. I don't know if anyone's ever done that, but signing a union card electronically is only possible in certain provinces, and whether that's a good technology or not, I'll talk about that. The use of texting. We use a program called Mobile Commons that allows us to do mass text and to measure open rates, and we use that at pre-vote periods. The use of social media tools like Facebook is one that I'm agnostic on, I'd say. We are increasingly building dedicated websites for specific organizing campaigns instead of referring workers and employees to our overall union website, on which we celebrate strikes and all sorts of other stuff. We try to have a dedicated websites. We also have used various tools such as Nation Builder and other off-the-shelf tools and tried to manipulate them and fit them into the world of union organizing. As I said again, the ability to sign a union membership card electronically is allowed in the province of BC and in Quebec. Nowhere else currently, I don't think, Bob, I hope I'm right, in Canada can you do that. Federally, if you want to join a union and you're in the telecom sector or federally regulated sector, if you want to join a union, you also have to pay $5. Oddly enough, you can pay the money electronically, but the actual signing of the card still is paper and pen. Another thing we've done recently is revamped our own internal database that we use in organizing, so it's secure and shareable and web enabled. We used to have separate databases all over the place, and our record keeping was poor. Let me say that also employees, when they're engaged in union organizing, engage in the use of technology on their own. They will build their own communication tools to communicate with each other. They will use WhatsApp or chat rooms or Facebook on their own. Sometimes that brings the campaign more to success, and sometimes it is exactly the wrong thing to do. Especially if people are engaging in public communication and perhaps disparaging their employer or bringing the campaign to the surface before it should come to the surface. So I think technology has increased the speed of our campaigns, but it also means that the campaigns get surfaced earlier. And I think that generally union organizing does need to come out of the shadows. The more we treat union organizing as something that is to be hidden, it has to be confidential, you sign your membership card in the bathroom, don't tell anybody, the more we reinforce the fact that people should be scared, and we make the union seem something that is off to the side, and we need to bring it out of the shadows and treat it more in the US, as my US compatriots would say, as a civil right. Let me say a couple things. In the law in Ontario is changing so that unions are now able to obtain a membership list once more than 20% of a prospective bargaining unit indicates support for the union. That doesn't provide home addresses, but it provides email addresses and phone numbers. Unions will have to use this judiciously and properly to avoid concerns about privacy, but also then to be able to maybe surface the campaign earlier, and how we, Bob and our other CLC affiliates hopefully, just to raise a current topic, use these technologies is going to be important as we move forward. There's also, again, the possibility, the new Ontario Labour Board is having the possibility of being able to hold votes electronically. Currently, all votes are paper ballots and secret ballot. You know, you head into the lunchroom, and under the watchful eye of scrutineers, cast your paper ballot. The hope is that the Ontario Board can, where necessary and where it's called for, operate electronic votes or telephone voting as our federal board does under certain circumstances. The possibility of signing membership cards electronically is one that has some union organizers very excited and has me not that excited at all. I think that the person-to-person nature of the need of when you sign a card and being able to transfer that support into a vote is much stronger when there's a person-to-person contract. And we used to use this crazy old technology to collect cards remotely. It was this thing called mail. And we would mail a membership card to a person and they would mail it back. It was crazy. It was so high tech. So an electronic card is nothing more than that, and we tend to use those as mop-ups at the end of the campaign, and I don't tend to rely on those as solid votes. I'll refer to, there was a Malcolm Gladwell article I read because I thought I should do some research, and they had a quote, this is back in 2007, and he was talking about the civil rights movement and saying, well, could the civil rights movement, how could it have ever worked without Facebook, I think was his, or without Twitter. And he said, technology is going to solve our energy problem. I'm convinced of that, but technology does not and cannot change underlying human dynamics of human behavior and problems. It doesn't make it easier to love, to motivate, to dream, or to convince people. And so I think that's true, but I think we, as a union, we have also, we're a bit behind the times, I will say that. The labor movement isn't exactly on the cutting edge of technology. It might surprise you to hear that. Employers have much more reach, much more capacity to communicate with their employees. Their resources are greater, their capacity is stronger. And currently in our union, we've hired some good IT and social media people, and with some electoral experience in the field of electoral politics. We're bringing some good disruption. I have to use that word if it's technology. I have to use the word disruption. They're bringing some disruption to how we do our organizing, which I think is good. And there are some real tensions between ancient people like me and new people who are better at using the digital tools. And so I think that is a good ferment that will happen in our union and produce better outcomes. In the end, a recent campaign, a company which will remain nameless because of potential litigation, a place that we organized in Windsor, Ontario just recently. We ran a fairly multifaceted electronic campaign in support of the effort. The employees themselves had Facebook accounts, which we stayed away from, so that they were free to say what they said. We were concerned about litigation from the employer. In fact, we tried to participate in Facebook, not at all. The Facebook efforts that people were engaged in, though, caused real controversy because you can't exactly communicate nuance in Facebook messaging, and this caused problems in the campaign as much as it caused gains for them. All of our leaflets were surreptitiously handed out in the workplace, but also then delivered via text and a text link at the same time. So we were able to move very, very fast. Eventually, though, and we had very good material, it was delivered and it was timed, and you can do that with technology. In the end, we won this, and we had also, so I should say, very good data management, so we could pull a good get out the vote campaign, because it was a vote even though it was under the federal code. In the end, none of that was what won the campaign. It was all important and necessary, but it wasn't sufficient. The only thing that was sufficient was there was an active inside committee of employees who were actually standing up, and they were visible, not on their computer screens, but they were visible in the workplace, speaking to their fellow employees about the importance of having a union. Without that, we could have Facebooked the thing till the cows came home, and that's all we could have had was a bunch of likes. So in the end, I will say that Facebook, I think, is a challenge for unions, and there are people who are promoting new alternatives to Facebook. There's a young guy in the States who's promoting something called Union Base, which is Facebook for unions, and it's some sort of protected chat room where unions verify their presence and employees verify their presence in sort of this protected space. So people are grasping at these different straws. I think that's definitely a straw and not a lifeboat by any means. And I will say also that the use of technology is significantly better in workplaces that are wired, and there's different laws, there are different cases at our labor boards about the ability of unions to essentially email people using their work addresses. And that's something that, so presumably if you could stand out front of a workplace and hand out leaflets, why can't you send to their email addresses if those are public addresses? There's a dispute around that. So in the end, it really is still, you need good issues in union organizing, you need active and engaged employees in the workplace who are going to take the lead, and technology replaces none of that. But technology, there's a really good tension in our union and in others about bringing some of our organizing techniques into the 21st century. In the end, the legal changes that we saw in the Ontario Labour Relations Act in January are important to begin to change the playing field a little bit and level it a bit so that there is an ability of employees to communicate. Employees currently, when they engage in union organizing efforts, have really no ability to communicate with each other, not nearly on an equal playing field. So some of the changes we make tilt it that way. And we'll see if unions can do better. The other key into union organizing, this new technology we should have, which is called cooperation between unions. That's the biggest reach, I think, and if unions can actually cooperate, share our resources, huddle around the same fire, I think we'll be able to use Facebook a bit more effectively. Thanks very much.